Thank you, everyone, for coming to tonight's meeting. This is the Upper Allen Township Park and Recreation Advisory Board meeting for May 28th, 2025. If I could ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would entertain a moment of silence first in Memorial Day. I don't know how many of you have lost friends in wars, but we'll just have a moment of silence. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll do a roll call, which will go through the board and then down through staff and the audience. Starting to my left, please.
Nick Christie.
Jason Sapoznik.
Jeff Williams.
Lawrence Sanker. Jessica Martini.
Tim Wendling, Assistant Manager.
Chad Krebs.
Eddie Mira.
Alexis Manana.
Sir?
Rick Castranio.
Yeah, he's your problem now. All right, thank you all. Everyone had a chance to look at the minutes. Are there any corrections, any changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. All right, chairman's announcements. First of all, this is the quarterly issue of the Pennsylvania Recreation Park Society magazine. It is glossy, it is lovely, and it also features our director and assistant director, photograph of them getting their award for the sensory garden at Winding Hill North. So that's up here if anyone wants to take a peek. Congratulations again on that. I have a few things. The bandwagon, Mr. Krebs, are you going to report on the bandwagon later? Oh, okay, thank you. All right, something that hit me pretty well. We have lost to greater things, I hope, our township manager, Scott Frazier. I want to publicly state that this man has been in support of parks ever since I and Carmen moved here 15 years ago. And he is very much responsible for the development of many of the parks, including Winding Hill. I don't think he gets credit for that because most people just don't know it. So I'll bring it up tonight and I'll have it put in the minutes. I will miss working with him. He was forward thinking. He was instrumental in bringing forth the issue of accessibility and particularly for the kids on the spectrum. There are aspects to several of our parks now that reflect that. And that takes support from administration. It also takes support from the Board of Commissioners, who at the time and the entire time I've been here have been extremely supportive of parks and developing them from being, quite good to really being excellent. So thank you, Scott Frazier. I'll probably say this again some other time, but for tonight, I want to thank him for that. We had the grand opening, of course, of Generations Park, which we'll talk about later. And that's pretty much all I'm going to cover right now, except I want to acknowledge everyone that is sponsoring or being involved with our 175th anniversary celebration, which Tim can talk about a little bit later. So at this point, if it's not on the agenda, if you have something to share with us, I really appreciate people coming to this meeting, and we wish I had more. You know, are there any public comments for right now? Mr. Brenneman?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Your address, please?
How's that? Better?
Your address, please.
2020 Stumpstown Road. I wanted to come to the meeting tonight to congratulate you guys and staff and most of our commissioners on what appears to be a home grand slam for Generations Park. People that comment and people that were there, almost everything was positive. The paved trails seem to be a big hit, ADA compliant. It just seems like I don't think you guys get enough credit for what you do. And, you know, all the other parks, all the equipment that's gone in over the last few years. I've lived here long enough. I remember when Fisher Road, Fisher Park was there. There was nothing. We used to ride snowmobiles back through there in the wintertime. And, you know, that was 40 years, 50 years ago. And I just think you've done a great job. And I just hope everybody keeps going and keeps at it. And I know, Mr. Williams, you will lead your troops and forward thinking yourself. Kudos to everybody and you folks over there too.
Well, thank you very much. Without staff and without support from the board and from administration, none of this would be possible. Thank you very much for your advocacy and support. Anyone else? You can do it now if you like. Sure. Yeah, normally we would wait till a little bit later, but that might. Okay, well, why don't we wait just a little bit? Is it Ms. Miller? Yes, thank you. All right. Any other public comments? Sir, you could come up and give us your address and, oh, never mind.
Bill Walsh, 443 McCormick Road. I just want to say two things. My 3.5-year-old grandnephew spent some quality time down at Grantham Park over part of the weekend with his family, and he gave 2 thumbs up to the slide. He was a huge
Like that
fan.
big slide.
Really liked it.
Yeah.
Very, very thrilled. Also, Chad, I just want to say the benches at McCormick Park, typically normally I'm apprehensive about stuff going into places like that. But I will say that those benches are just wonderful. I think they're understated. They don't detract from the historic district or the natural beauty of that area, and they're just situated just beautifully. And I found myself on a number of occasions just going down there and just sitting on those benches, listening to the water. So just those 2 things.
Well, thank you. Anyone else? Let's move right along. Commissioners, anything to share tonight?
No, the only thing I have to share is at Grantham Park, we did award phase 1 of that project moving forward at the last board meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Fairchild? All right, thank you. Tim?
Just a quick update from me. As Jeff mentioned, we are in the 175th anniversary year. We've had 3 speakers so far. They've gone off really well. We have 2 more coming in the fall. We have a bunch of summer events coming up. And then the biggest thing right now is we just unveiled our new 175th anniversary blanket, which is on sale for $55. They're available online. You can purchase online and then pick it up here at the Township Building. And then the second thing Jeff mentioned also is the Bandwango app, which is the Parks app. Well, I keep calling it an app. It's not necessarily an app. You don't have to download it. You get it right from the webpage. But just in this first week and a half, 489 residents have signed up to use it, which is really great. And it hasn't even really been advertised yet. The big announcement is coming in the newsletter, which will come out in a couple of weeks. But we're really excited. We've gotten really good feedback about that. And I took my kid around this past week. We just did all the parks in one day. Took all day because he wanted to get out at every park. My idea was just going to check in, but he wanted to get out. So it's going to be good for the summertime to get kids out and about. And I think the residents are really enjoying it so far.
Excellent. Thank you. Chad and Parks?
Yep. Obviously it rains all the time now, so that has us a little behind, having some issues keeping up with mowing. We're getting it mowed, but some of the fields and stuff are starting to get a little clumpy, so hopefully if we get some sunny days, that'll clean up. Along with the rain, the path we mow at Generations Park, we're probably not going to continue mowing that at the time. A lot of the fence holes that we filled in settled and opened up. So we're going to have to send a crew back down there at some point, and there's laying water in 3 or 4 spots of it. So it's just hard to get a mower. We had the mower stuck last week down there. So until it gets a little warmer and dries up down there, we're probably not going to mow that. And then, as Rick mentioned, the Grantham Pond project was awarded. So we're hoping that starts kind of towards the end of June, beginning of July.
Thank you. Eddie?
So our Treat Tuesdays and Food Truck Fridays are going well. Every month they're Treat Tuesday starting here soon, but the Food Truck Fridays are going pretty well, pretty packed every month. The next event that we're going to be having is the Art in the Park on June 29th from 10 to 1 at Winding Hill Park North. Alba has once again put together a movie in the park at Friendship Park on July 11th, starting at 6 p.m. till movie starts at dusk. This year's movie will be Moana 2. And H2L, along with Upper Island, is putting on a yoga in the park at Fisher Park. It's going to be a quick event. It starts at 9 a.m. ends. Starts at 8. Yes, the food truck is from 9 to 11. Orbit Bowls and Bites will be there. Once again, it should be a quick event. Yoga in the park, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's roughly 200 or on Facebook. Yeah, so it's pretty much all we have for right now.
Great. How many people were out in the parks this weekend over the holiday? I know Mr. Cochran, he took photographs everywhere showing different ages, different parks, different activities, and I appreciated that post. But I went through a couple of parks several times and they were packed, and it is very rewarding for what we do up here to go out and see people using what our taxpayer dollars pay for. Is that shamelessly, promoting parks? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Tiffany, you're up. What are the kids doing now?
They're building boats to go down the rivers. Just kidding. Hopefully all this rain that we're getting here in May means we're going to have a beautiful summer and we're going to be able to just enjoy all of the weather and not be soggy. So a couple updates. I combined April and May so that in the summer we'll report on summer items. So in April and May, our top adult program was the Turtle Mosaic class. We had 24 participants in the class, which is really great. We've spent a lot of time talking about the mosaics. The Bunny Mosaic, we had 11. We had a New York City trip that had 9 and Zumba that had 9 for the adults. The youth program, we have a track program. And we had 86 kids participate in the track program. The last 2 days of the track program, they do a meet. So we have all the ribbons for them. So they get first, second, and third. Really great event. The kids loved it. The rain washed us out a couple times, but that's okay. And our Schools Out field hockey clinic, we had 19 participants enrolled, and pony riding, we had 9. So those were our top youth programs for April and May. We kind of slowed down in April and May and picked back up in June. So hopefully we'll have a bigger array of programs next time. So we're preparing for the summer. This past weekend, we opened the pool. We closed early on Saturday because it was not beautiful out. But it was open all weekend. We closed early Saturday and Sunday. Monday, they were open the full day. We open again this weekend. And then starting June 9th, it'll be open Monday through Sunday all week for the summer until school gets ready to start. So hopefully the water warms up and the rain doesn't make it cold. June 9th, we have Summer Adventure Camp and the summer programs are starting. So that's when everything kind of kicks off for us for the summer. And then June 16th, the playground program starts. So it starts a week later. And for all of the above items, we've hired over 125 staff so far for. the
125 staff?
Yeah, plus.
Are they full?
Our staffing, yeah. Yep, we are.
How the program runs?
Yeah, our two youngest age groups in summer camp are full with 55 kids. The Explorers age group, the parents are deciding if they can stay home or not. We have about 35 a day, and then our oldest group, we have about 15 a day. So we're going along.
Thank you.
Any questions? All right,
Anybody have any?
thanks.
Good deal. Thank you. Full already. All right, we're going to go to park assignments. Nick, what do you see?
Friendship and Rose Garden look great. Seeing a lot of usage there out of Friendship, lots of soccer, lots of kids on the playground equipment, which is great. No real notes. They both look great. Thank you.
Can I ask a question there? On Chad, on Rose Garden, is that a sinkhole or is that a end wall of a pipe happening?
No, there's a sinkhole there that needs to be filled in.
Yeah.
It started last year as like a small depression, but it's getting worse.
You know, that's not a pipe that comes out.
No, there's a pipe that runs near it, but it's, when MS4 looked at it, it's not related, so.
Thanks.
All right, Country Estates, that's mine, one of mine. That looked fine. All right, there's something that slipped my mind there, but it was very minor. McCormick, I've been down 5 times this week at least, driving slowly. And you're seeing the fishermen, you're seeing the blend of users. There is some deterioration, maybe a pothole between the asphalt and the gravel that might need to be cold patched. Obviously, we're going to start to get heavy use there, so maybe somebody takes a look at that. I know we have a bench that was, kind of out of commission there. What's the deal with that? I didn't stop to look.
Yeah, and just to follow up with Phil's comment earlier too, so all those benches are actually donated. So we have a bench donation program, and they purchased that in memory of a loved one. So that was just put in last week. So we have a caution taped off to concrete settled. So, but it probably can come off now.
That's great. You definitely see people using the benches. I saw picnic people at Simpson. I won't go back to that. The use of the parks was just what I would love to see. The dog park, we're getting, 15 visits a day to the Facebook page just to take a look. And that has the link to the township website on it, so people can go get the information about registration and what the requirements are. I assume we're still around 280 up and down average for registrations. And for those of you that don't know, it requires the veterinarian to sign off on the form, actually on the form, that the dog is up to its speed on vaccinations. We did have a dog that got kennel cough a little bit despite being vaccinated. So we don't know why that happened. If the dogs are in there, unless somebody lets them in, they're vaccinated, and that should not be happening, but sounds like a rare occurrence. That's all I have for my parks. Lauren.
I stopped by Grantham today in the midst of a light rain, and no one was there. But I kind of want to, it looked beautiful, and it's in repose right now, right? It's a park in the middle of something. It's transitioning, and I just want to say that the beauty of Grantham is that there's running water beside it. You have this auditory sound. You have this running creek. There was a heron. There were the Canadian geese with their goslings, there were red-winged blackbirds, there were so many birds that were everywhere. The bird song, it's such a beautiful park. It's small and there's usually not many people there. These are such gems in the middle of our world that I was happy to be there alone and have this moment of silence with it. I would love for more people to know about it. And I know it's becoming something more, but it's just as lovely as it is right now. So I just wanted to speak to, and honeysuckle smelled amazing. It smelled like spiced gumdrops out there. It was amazing. It looked great, and I know it'll look different soon too. So that's my report.
It'll be in construction for a while, and I think the neighbors know that. And thanks to Parks for putting a sign up to indicate exactly what's going to be happening as the pond gets dredged and restocked. I know I have at least one individual that's very interested in fishing there, so that'll be good. Christina cannot be with us tonight, but she says both her parks are looking good. Carmen and I drug our pug around Simpson the other day, and everything looked really nice. So I think we get to go back and do that. Jessica.
Aspen, not flooded, so I think that's about the best we can ask for. Spring run, good but wet because I also went out today. So, and then Mount Allen, the baseball diamond is slightly flooded. Can't expect anything else. And I'm not sure if the orange cones are supposed to be there, like in the corner right as you drive into the parking lot.
I'm not sure. I'll check it out.
All right, Jason.
So Fisher, it's, the time of year where Fisher gets to shine with all the baseball going on and full of life, and soon there'll be camp. And so Fisher looks great. Miller's Crest is usually quiet. I saw some of the neighborhood kids decided to turn the basketball court into a giant chalkboard. So there was like chalk art all over which was cool to see, because the whole neighborhood's turned over a lot in the last 15 years, where it's not so much older families now, it's younger families with kids, and they really appreciate the park. You can see it gets a lot of use, and Kosher is fine, nothing crazy about it. But I can also speak to Winding Hill. I spent a lot of time there a couple of weeks ago for softball, umpired a few games, and I mean, you really can't say enough about Winding Hills North and South. There was soccer going on. There were 3 softball games going on, soccer at Winding Hill North. There was the 5K at South. It was just so full of life. You could hear the kids playing the musical instruments above the cheer of the crowd. So it's just, like Jeff was saying earlier, it's just a testament to our Parks Department and the board for supporting that kind of development. Like you can't say enough about the parks that we've made. So that's all I've got for that.
All right, great. Dan can't be here, but I know I've driven through Winding Hill a number of times this week, and kind of the same thing. A lot of different uses. That's the way it's constructed. This past weekend, maybe there was a run there. Somebody did a run.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
5K Jason was talking about.
Yeah,
Grantham,
yeah.
or not Grantham, which, Daybreak Church held it there.
Okay. There are partners of the dog park, if you didn't know, and very nice, wonderful partners to work with. All right.
Jeff,
Go.
I have a note just on Winding Hills. I was there last week with some little ones, and mine aren't little anymore, so I don't have this happen very often, but I took them to the bathroom and they couldn't reach the sinks. Just wondering about some type of stool system that we could install or option for that type of thing.
Yeah, we can look into that.
All right. I think we have all the parks covered. It's been a wonderful week for parks, folks. Really has. We're going to talk about generations right now, and we're going to talk about the grand opening first. And I would like to ask the board, everybody was kind of at a station, what your impressions were, criticisms, praises? Did people like it? Did they have something they'd like to change? And I'll start to my left. Nick, oh, you weren't there.
Unfortunately, yeah, I had missed that.
I'm
of
sorry.
course. That's my fault.
Public embarrassment, that's my specialty.
It had to be done.
All right, so I had the amphitheater and I was keeping a tally of people I interacted with, and I talked to 53 different residents or visitors because they weren't all from Upper Allen. The overwhelming majority of the people are looking forward to being able to stay close to home to see an event performed in the park. I didn't keep track of all the different places people have driven to see shows outdoors, but even locally, like even just on McCormick Road or Lisburn, people are like walking to the show instead of having to sit in traffic going to Hershey. Not that we're going to have anything of that scale, just the simple fact that they might be able to see a little concert, you know, something acoustic or a small performance in a park without having to drive a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour or more to see something like that really appealed to a lot of people I spoke to. I had a couple of people that weren't too crazy about it, but 51 out of 53, you know, I know we're not going to make everyone happy with everything we do. But the feedback we got that day from the people that were curious enough to come out to the park was very positive.
Thank you. I was at, appropriately, the senior section. And I heard a lot of excitement about a area, you know, not just for seniors, but primarily programmed with outdoor, low-impact exercise equipment, some bocce courts perhaps some horseshoes. One suggestion was to put shuffleboard in there. Not quite sure how that would work, but that was one of the suggestions. And Parks has, congratulations to Parks, by the way, for doing, you guys did a great job, because when we showed up, everything was right there, a table. I didn't have to carry anything, which I really appreciate at this age. So we made some notes which you all have. I heard a lot of comments about the path and the ease of which people could get around. But for the senior area, that seemed to be, at least from what I heard, a high priority for folks. All right, Lauren.
The same general comments. Very excited, very excited. I had some kids that their eyes were all aglow about the pump track and concepts like that, things that we haven't had, that we haven't offered before. Same ideas, overall excitement, very few negative comments, same things about the amphitheater. The sounds, concerned about the sounds affecting possible, about wildlife, birds, things like that, the amphitheater sounds. That was what I heard, the only real negative thing. And also the same comments about the senior area being probably the first thing they wanted to see kind of come to fruition. But overall, just really excited to have this opportunity.
Thank you.
I also had a woman approach me from the Audubon, she's part of the Audubon Society, and I think it was noted, she had the same concerns about the disruptions of the birds. And she actually gave me a recommendation for a really cool app that she said you should tell people about this so that they can take it in the park, and it's the Merlin Bird ID. I tell you what, it's the best app recommendation. My poor husband has had to watch me stand outside
Oh,
holding
I
this.
talked to her.
Yeah,
I talked to her.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
She identified 14 birds. I'm a fan of birds, so it was very exciting. But it was a really cool educational aspect about that morning. People were happy to have something so close. Same thing about the pump track, the fact that the other closest one is either in Harrisburg or Carlisle.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and then everybody wanted to know about the timeline.
About what?
Sorry, everybody was asking, like, what's the timeline for all of this? That was the most common
2
question I
years,
got.
it's gonna take.
Right, I told them
Yeah.
it doesn't happen overnight.
Staff comments. No pressure.
Do you want to talk about your table? We'll start with that.
So I was at the picnic area and the open space, which people were really excited about. Mostly all positive discussion. A lot of people are excited to see the path be finished. They were really excited about it being paved. I had some bikers, walkers. They were all, people with strollers were especially thankful for that. People are also excited about the senior area. I had a lot of discussions about that. Biggest concern is further development's consideration of birds and other wildlife, which I think is something that we're definitely going to take in account as we move forward with that. But overall, very positive experience. But I really focused on talking with people about the senior playground and the extension of the additional trail, not track.
As far as the opening, I was going to jump into something else. So I know you have some public comment, but one of the main reasons we wanted to do this and get input is we're coming up to budget season. So we wanted to kind of have a discussion in here, see what direction we want to move. Do we want to request anything for next year? What projects we want to look at? With all that, keeping in mind that we do have an outstanding grant for the other trail completion that we may or may not get. I mean, we're hopeful for it, but just keeping that in mind as well as I think in our opinion, the trail should be one of the first things completed, so.
Okay. Well, after public comment, maybe the board can kind of give you our thoughts to take forward to the Board of Commissioners. I would say that the trails, the number one thing in the country, the number one thing in Pennsylvania, according to a survey done for Penn State a couple years ago for DCNR, was walking and hiking. And that is clearly from the small group that did the Acorn effort here, that is clearly their first priority. So I think everybody's, I'm glad we have a grant in to try to get the rest of the pathways in, because it's what people want to do. And I've talked to neighbors, I've talked to friends who, they didn't get frustrated by the time they got down to the barn, but they had to kind of turn and come back sort of through the middle. Be nice to have that complete loop. And I have one gentleman I've been talking to that is elderly, that this has been on Facebook, so anybody can read it. He rides a bike and he's looking for something that's relatively flat. Well, this isn't flat, but the slopes are not radical at all. So that being said, I think at this point we want to hear, I'm sure there are folks here that have something to say. And who wants to talk about Generations Park? Ms. Miller, you were kind of first up, if you don't mind me pointing you out. Thanks for coming. Could you turn the microphone on, please? It's a little switch down on the bottom.
Yeah.
Green.
It's green
Yeah,
now.
there you
Okay.
go.
Okay, hi. Susan Miller from 934 East Lisburn Road. And the first thing I want to do also is I haven't been very involved with what's going on with parks in the past until Generations came along. And I do want to thank the volunteers, the staff, commissioners that have come up with all these great parks in the township. And there does seem to be something for everyone. And I appreciate all the work that's gone into the planning and the maintenance of the parks. Okay, I had to make myself some notes, so I'm sorry, just to be.
It's okay. Take your time.
And I do appreciate that Generations Park didn't become a housing development, that it's going to be this beautiful open spot for the whole community to enjoy. So that having been said, I was there at the grand opening also, and I noticed well, there's three things about Generations Park I'd like to mention. First of all, it's great to have parks that can accommodate lots and lots of people and have constant activity and kids playing and equipment for kids and all that sort of thing. That's wonderful. And I've seen that at the parks you're talking about at Winding Hills, and know that that is already in existence in the community. I recently joined the township's Bird Town committee, and I'm not speaking on behalf of that committee. This is just from me, but in learning about that committee and the intent of it, I want to speak a little bit about the wildlife at Generations Park and just give you some things maybe to think about as more development and ideas for the park come along. like I said, I'm no bird expert. I just have an interest, and I hope that there will be continuing places for the wildlife there. And I ask you to consider Generations Park being even maybe a little more different than what the conceptual plan outlines. I think we've all heard recently that there's a lot of benefit to just being in nature, observing nature, listening, having quiet places to go to, and found this at home. Even Reader's Digest has something about how nature heals us, and doctors that are recommending
Absolutely.
prescriptions for going out into nature for all sorts of different ailments that people might have. I think that's already there at Generations Park. If you go there now, I was there yesterday, met a very nice lady there who encouraged me to speak up at this meeting, and that's why I'm here, not my favorite thing to do. But she said, go ahead and speak at the meeting.
It wasn't my
There's-
wife, was it?
I'm not saying any names. But she's your biggest champion, I think.
Lord.
Anyway, there's a lot of value to the park as it is even now. And with the addition of some more accessible trails that people can get around a little easier, some benches, bathrooms, that sounds great to me, even without some of the other concrete things that are planned for there. I've seen postings that Generations Park will be 87% green if all those developments do come to fruition. I've seen that on being posted. And while that may be true that all these little parts add up to 87%, there's also something called fragmentation that can affect wildlife when large sections are broken up into smaller sections. That can affect how wildlife act. And I'd like to use a specific bird as an example, the eastern meadowlark. It's a beautiful bird with a lovely song. To make their little family, a male needs about 6 acres of unmowed territory that's usually like grasslands, fields, that sort of thing. The nests are built on the ground in the grass in May and June. They're very well hidden. They're very difficult to find. It takes after the nest is built, it takes about 4 weeks for incubation and raising the young. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. And raising the young. And so that their nesting period is considered to be like through the end of July. Any mowing too early can destroy nests, the eggs, or the young. And what does this matter? There are meadowlarks in Generations Park. First time I went there on the grand opening day, I heard them. Another friend that was there heard them. We saw a couple. I've been back several times since then, and we always hear the meadowlarks. They're there. The Pennsylvania Game Commission classifies the eastern meadowlark as a species of conservation concern. That's mostly due to habitat loss, early mowing, and pesticide use. I think maybe through some Birdtown conversations, the message might have gone to the Parks Department staff about mowing times for that. I'm not sure if that is something that can help the meadowlarks that are there get through this season or not. But I do want to ask you to think about in future years how development of the park might affect that particular bird and other wildlife that call that place their home. Would you have I thought maybe you had a question. No, okay. The second thing, a more personal and selfish issue. I live right on Route 114 out below between Bowmansdale and Lisburn. In the 30 plus years that I've lived there, the traffic noise has increased tremendously. It's hard to be in the house listening to music on a radio or TV or whatever, even with the windows closed, that you don't hear very loud vehicles going by, loud motorcycles, people with car radios blasting. And I would welcome a place to go to sit in the quiet of nature, just to listen to the birds, listen to wind going through the leaves, that sort of thing. And that's what I hope is a good part of Generations Park. I really would look forward to that. And I've noticed sometimes in the summer down along McCormick Road, there are people that come and kind of set up for the day, and they have radios either out of their cars or a boom box, if they still call them that. I don't know what they're called now, but with their own favorite tunes playing quite loudly. I'm wondering if there's any way to include a restriction on artificial sound in Generation Park in the future so that people aren't bringing their own music in there to play and disturb those who might want to just hear the silence of the area.
For that last one, I'll ask the commissioners in a minute. There are sound regulations, but for Generations Park, there are large meadows that will not be mowed ever. Okay, they'll be natural. There's a loop. As soon as you come into the park on the right, there's that large loop.
I've seen that,
I
yes.
think that's one that's going to grow up, but you have a flower meadow. There's going to be habitat because we have several ecosystems there between wetlands and meadow and forest. You're also going to see loops that off the main trail, the paved trail, ducking back into the woods, you know, some places to go and have solace and quiet time. I think that's in the plan. And I think this board has always been for that. And as far as we'll give advice, that I'm sure that'll be done. But I think that's kind of addressed, you know. I have 2 ponds in my backyard. We feed birds and I thoroughly enjoy the variety that we see. I did see a Carolina wren last year. I mean, I think bird watching and perhaps having some stations down the line, just for quiet observation. I know walking the other day, my wife and I saw several birds. And yeah, of different varieties. I mean, that sounds weak, but I was surprised because they weren't just, you know, robins or sparrows. And I think the habitat, I wouldn't be misled by the fact that you have pathways crossing everywhere because the forest on the side, if you look at the plan, that habitat remains. The habitat isn't changing. So, boy, I appreciate it. It's not easy to come up and talk in public. I know what you're doing. I'm with you.
I have looked at the map and every concrete structure or amphitheater or
Understand.
anything that goes in could affect that quiet and solace that
Yeah, but
would be
you know,
available otherwise.
if you
in the
have
park.
10 shows a year in an amphitheater, it's not gonna, talk to anybody. It's not gonna adversely affect the wildlife for 2 hours, but when you think about it, you can kind of make that an issue, but frankly, if you're honest about it, I don't see that as far as an amphitheater or any kind of entertainment or center area. That's just something, it's something to be aware of though, but I hope that gives you a couple of answers. My minor is in biological science. I mean, I'm very aware of what I see out there and I am very pro-environment. So I'm pretty satisfied with this plan because I think it protects the basics of the nature in that park. Does anybody else have any comment or I'm running my mouth enough?
One thing I will say, I really do appreciate the idea of, like when you go to Winding Hills to the park that we just installed, I'm sorry, the Senses Park. The Sensory Garden, when you walk in, there's signs that say this park is for everyone. So remember to not like stomp on the strawberry plants. And it's kind of like a reminder to be a person here and not trash this place because it's for everyone. These types of things shouldn't have to be laid out, but sometimes when we're in park areas, like I would love to have reminders in this park that say like, this is meant to be a like sanctuary area, like, like the pump track area, that's wild, crazy, blah, blah, blah. Like maybe this is I don't know, like a respect, like out of like, I don't know, something that reminds us all to like respect the people around us. So in regards to that number 2 for you, I think that we could address like respect around us. So I think that that's, as we come to it, something that we can, in that way. I don't know what we're talking about in terms of actual levels of you know, decibel levels. But that's a.
Well,
on a
I know
different-
that we won't be pumping out sound out of that amphitheater like some other places
Well,
in the township.
Right, but we're just, she's speaking directly about like
Right.
your radio or your personal device type
Mhm.
of stuff. Like, I don't know what that looks like for what we can, tell people, but on a personal, like, we ask you to do this, please, that's that level that I'm speaking to. But on the level of the nature that we're coming into and disrupting, I do want to make sure that we are protecting what's there, and I agree that there is, when we put things up, it's going to affect them. I would like to know that as Birdtown, takes a look at this, I'm interested what Birdtown has to say, like as the committee, like what do they think? I love that what you have to say too, but I'm just wondering what their input is too, as they look at this park, and what would their recommendation be? Because we are gonna continue to work on this. So, and we want the birds to be there too. So how can we, come together? So, we can get everybody happy. That's the goal.
Maybe not everybody 87% happy.
Well, as happy as possible. I guess that's the
I
goal.
know.
Yeah.
But I guess part of my thinking is that there are other parks in the township that have the space for tons of people all at one time and many, many active things going on. And maybe there could be more emphasis put on this one to be a more serene, sedate kind of place.
Well, I think by its nature, that will happen, to be honest with you. You've got a couple very active areas, but you go there now and you're seeing, every time I've been, there've been 5 or 6 cars, and I talk to people and they're there for the first time, and
Mhm.
I'm not sure how crowded it would be, particularly with that amount of acreage, but
With
Look.
some of the other things that are suggested and on the
Understand.
conceptual plan, I think that will change.
well, some of
So
them are
just-
down the line for discussion.
Right.
I mean, nothing's set in cement.
Right.
Tonight, we're going to discuss a little bit about what this board suggests for the Board of Commissioners for the budget for next year,
Mhm.
which is going to happen after everybody has a bit of a say. So thanks a lot,
Okay.
Ms. Miller.
Thank you
And if
for
you
your
have anything
time.
else, you can, email us or come up here again, because it wasn't that bad, was it?
Huh. Now that it's over.
You're televised. You can go home and watch yourself on TV. Someone else, who would else like to speak tonight? Sir, sir. Todd, I'll be in the back. I'm done.
Well, you're in the back row. That's the problem.
I saw you come in. I just, ophthalmologist just laughed at me today, so.
Is this on? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, I'd like to, I was at the opening day and I did most of it. Sorry, I didn't see you, Jason. You were too busy. And went through the entire park and, it's been a long time.
I'm
coming.
sorry, Todd, could you give your address?
Oh, I'm sorry. Tanya Brown, 834 Grantham Road. I think she knows. Grantham.
Probably not.
Yeah. And by the way, Grantham Park is used a lot more than you see, because I count cars when I go by every day. And it's really used for fishing. These kids really use it for fishing. So it is used a lot, and I'm looking forward to it being completed because it'll get more and more use. So, but back to Generations Park, obviously, I'm with Jeff, and I would vote for the senior stage to go first, because we are ultimately gathered around athletics in almost all our other parks. With that being said, I've already given my input to Jeff about that area. Today I was at the Conservation and Natural Resources in Harrisburg for 4 hours on an advisory committee. And they just finished the SCORP, which they utilize for their plan across the state. And through that, they did a survey of the college students leaving college right now to go out into the workforce. 87% of them are going to pick where they live by the quality of life. And then they're going to move there and find their job. So we already have a great quality of life here, okay? We already see that in our housing market and how the sales go with homes and whatnot. So we're fortunate, but there aren't places like that. And the number one thing in quality of life that they look at, parks and recreation. That's what they're looking at. And across all generations, it was number two. I can't remember what number one was, but across all generations, it's number two. So I was saying this is long overdue. I've seen this for a long time. Back in our comp plan, prior to this comp plan, it said over 125 acres. That's been, we're always 125 acres short. We finally got there. So now we get there, and obviously you're going to have contention about what people want to see done. I will say I attend concerts up at Kings Gap. That's an environmental center. Concerts are being held there. So they're environmentalists up there. We have to get professionals to tell us how far away from the nesting area. It's not just Birdtown. You have to find a professional because they're doing it right up there. I go to Spring and Sperry at least twice a year for a concert, and they're not huge. I hear the Ashcombs Farm every Friday and Saturday night, and I live in Grantham. So you can't go by the ordinance, or that's not gonna work. It can't be that loud at that park, obviously. But it's something to consider. As far as the amphitheater, I'm 100% behind it. I know that's just my opinion. There have been so many times over the last 40 years, I said, too bad we don't have some place that we can gather as a community. We didn't even have a pavilion that seated 250 people, that churches couldn't gather. Like, I'm thinking church services, theaters, yoga classes, natural environmental education programs. It's not just concerts. Okay, if you do it into the beauty of the site and you use the natural resources there with lots of grass, rock, it could be really, I can picture it can be just absolutely beautiful and fit into the scenery. It can also be a learning tool for camps and whatnot. Just real quickly, I have notes too somewhere. Those were some of them. One of the biggest things with the amphitheater is it brings all generations together and families together. And we need to consider community building because we have our communities split by so many sections of roadway that they can't get together at any one place. We're going to have to drive there. Obviously, it could be a cultural enrichment, which I've already talked about, the quality of life. And then you have to think of our reputation. These guys have done an excellent job in regards to our parks are the best. In 2 years, I've driven all over the state for DCNR going into small communities that don't have professionals like we do. And it's a shame. You want to talk about quality of life and you're just an hour and a half north of here. So we're blessed and we have to take our time going through this, which we're going to anyway. But I just want to say that it's going to take the time, but we're going to do it right. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Tug, you've done that before. Thank you. Any other public comments? Sir, Mr. Commissioner. Good Lord, he's got notes.
Private citizen Phil Walsh, 443 McCormick Road. So I had a quick question to start. I noticed during the opening day, the tables had notepads with a pen on them. It wasn't explained to me what those were for. Do you know what those were for? Do you recall what I'm talking
The
about?
notepads?
Yeah, on each table.
Oh, yeah, they're to put down comments what the people had and given to Parks. Parks collected them afterwards.
No one ever told me about that. Not a single person said this notepad is for your comments, suggestions, or input.
Like I would write down the comments that anyone said to me.
Were comments solicited
So
from?
you were at a table?
I was going from table to table.
Oh,
At no time did someone say, do you have any suggestions that I can write down in my little notepad?
okay.
Okay.
At every table. And I apologize, I was hoping to talk to you, but by the time I got to your table, which was last on the loop, you had already left, so I apologize because I was kind of hoping to pick your brain a little bit.
One of the reasons we have these meetings in public forum.
Sure.
Please share.
And you had alluded earlier to the Acorn public input session and correctly identified the walking, biking, hiking trails, nature walking areas, pollinator butterfly native areas as being the highest percentage of votes in that fairly extensive survey of residents of the township. And I think that really speaks to what most of the people who attended that session, who were, again, from across the entire township. All right. This is not
Right.
just this is not just NIMBYs, not in my backyard, people complaining about this, that, or the other. The results of that survey were rather enlightening, I thought. And we keep coming back to things like the amphitheater, which got 4% of the votes, 4% of the votes. The senior playground and fitness center, we're hearing a lot of talk about that this evening, 2% of the vote. The hard service courts and bocce, including pickleball, 3% of the votes. These were not priorities for most of the people who attended this public input session, or I should say sessions, plural. Overwhelmingly, I believe that the quality of life for the residents of this township would benefit far more by what the people spoke to in that across that survey. So I just want to reiterate that I think our focus really should be on the top vote getters with regards to what the majority of the people across this township really were interested in. I think I'll leave it at that for now. I just basically reiterating things I've spoken to before, but I am a bit concerned that at no time was I asked for my input, yet it's being used as a point of reference for discussions going forward. And I don't know how many other people were also not asked. So that's it. Thanks.
All right. Somebody have a comment first? All right, you're absolutely correct. That 19% wanted walking. 13% wanted pollinator, and butterfly gardens, that's done. 13% wanted nature watching areas, that's done. 9%, which you did not bring up, wanted a pump track or a skate park. Once again, this is 1% or less than 1% of the township population, however, including children. However, it's important to remember that these people were really interested. You know, their input is important because they showed up to vote. They made a point to take time out of their day to come here and give their input. But if we're going to look at that, Phil, you got to look at the whole thing. That's 9% for a pump track and a skate park, which you didn't bring up. 7% for environmental education. 6% for barn, community center, festivals, seasonal events, and 5% for a kids adventure play area. Now that is 1%. Where else did we go to get input? You had input from this board. You had input from police, Messiah College, University. I'm sorry, my wife will tell me about that. You had input from fire and rescue. You had input from staff. It is not just the 1% where we take a look at these things. So fire back, buddy.
No, nothing to fire about. I just reiterating, I guess I'm not really sure why we're going in a direction that, in my opinion, has more of a commercial feel. We're talking about a lot of paved and active things in this park when we have active parks, youth-oriented active parks. I think we have a unique opportunity to try something very different and unique that speaks to what the majority of the people are really interested here. Also, it was my understanding we were negotiating a contract with regards to operation of a skate park. in the borough of Mechanicsburg, but operated by Upper Allen Township. Is that correct?
No, it's not a skate park, it's a skate spot. It's no bigger, it's smaller than this room. I would hardly call that a skate park.
Mhm.
It's a
And I-
small little, I'm trying to, the word escapes me. It's a plaza, skate plaza. That has some natural, it'll have features that will keep the kids from skating through the borough in front of cars, off curbs, off benches. It's a tiny little, I don't know, a couple of hundred square foot spot, not a park by any means.
Sure. And
We're not going to manage that, are we?
I mean, we are right now according to the agreement, but
Oh, okay.
the talks are still kind of ongoing, so. What's
It's
that?
not a true skate park, and that's been the input that I've seen on it.
And getting back to the skate park at Generations, and this has come up before with regards to the average age of skateboarders. From what I've read, that average is closer to the age of 14, which means that either these kids are skateboarding along Lisburn Road or their parents or someone else is driving them there. Whereas if we had a skate park in an already youth-oriented active park, which are much closer to the more densely populated areas with existing paved trails, they could skate to those skate parks. I just think I think I'm a former skateboarder myself. In full disclosure, I was a one-trick pony, but I thought it was a pretty darn good trick. So I am very, in fact, I've met with people in the township with regards to pursuing a skate park in the township. The design mapped out various skate parks in the region with plans to visit those and further coalesce my thoughts on terms of how to design a skate park. I'm not anti-skate park, I guess is my point. But I think this is the wrong place for it for a number of reasons. And I just think that the number of paved active activities in this park is a real detriment to the natural beauty. And I would just like to say that Ms. Miller speaks my mind with regards to a more contemplative natural setting. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember hacking my sister's skates in half and getting a 2x4 for my first skateboard, and I think I've healed.
I can't imagine anyone actually skateboarding on Lisburn Road. That's,
It's a valid point. I think we had a presentation at this board before you were commissioner, sir, from the chief of police and a couple people from Steelton with their park, skate park. And people would travel even from here to go over there. So you have a couple of different populations, perhaps, demographics. You might have the younger ones that are close enough in the borough to skateboard over there using the sidewalks. But you also have people that, if it's put in Generations, they would travel there to use that. And the 14-year-old could be a little misleading. Skate parks I've seen for Generations tend to be 16 to early 20s. There's a population out there that is very active in it. So I appreciate the comments. Personally, I disagree, but that's okay. That's why we have these forums. Other comments? Any other public comment? Now I'm in trouble.
Jim Cochran, 34 Allison Avenue. If you bear with me, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my travels on Memorial Day. I started off, and I'll get to Generations because that's where I stopped. I started off at Friendship because I was mowing over there, getting a soccer field ready for some practice in the afternoon. I spend a good many Friday mornings at Friendship mowing soccer fields. And this was a little different crowd this time, I guess, because it was a holiday. Friday mornings when I'm mowing, it's normally young families. And I'm amazed at the number of people that sit at a picnic bench with a laptop while their kids are playing in the playground. And I'm also not amazed, but I just hadn't taken notice to how many people drive to that park. because it's the only multi-story facility for kids to climb on. And the word's out and people drive in all the time. And that's one of the things about our parks is none of our parks offer everything, but I like to think all of our parks offer something unique. And we had an older family over there with their granddaughter and with walkers and whatnot. And my one concern for that park, to be honest with you, is the amount of electric scooters that I see ripping through there from time to time. And those people don't drive in, those people scooter in. So I'm pretty sure they're coming from Meadowview or someplace real close. So I went from there down to Friendship or to Fisher. And at Fisher, everybody was waiting for the splash pad to open. When's the splash pad going to open? And I said, well, it's not very warm today, but I think that's going to be opening up pretty soon. But that's a drivable facility. People come to that park just to use the splash pad. The word's out. And there was baseball practice going on a number of fields. And I even caught a picture of mom playing catch with her son on to the side of the one field. So it wasn't just a guy's day out. There were moms there with kids too. And it was interesting to see. And there were some, I didn't get the picture, I don't think, of the tennis players. There were 2 tennis players on one court and there were pickleball players on the other court. So they can coexist. I've heard in the past, sometimes they can't, but they did. Went from there to the dog park and got there just as it was breaking up a bit. It was a busy day. And they had 7 large dogs in the large dog area and one bit another one, and it started a pack fight. And they had just pulled all the dogs apart. We're taking everybody to their own corner, trying to calm things down. And apparently the dog that started the fight was new to the facility, and everybody up there knows the people by their dogs, not by their own names, which is crazy. But they said, yeah, that's not somebody who's here normally. But they all loved the park. I talked to some people about the park, and I said, so you don't mind paying? And some of the people were from Carroll Township. There were some people from Lower Allen. I said, well, you have your own park. They said, nah. I don't want to use the word in public, but it's not a good park. They let anybody in there. We don't know what kind of dogs are coming in. You guys make sure that everybody goes to the vet and they all have their papers and they're up to date. And I feel like my dogs are safe there. So that was very interesting to see. Went from there to Simpson. And I think Simpson is another park that gets ignored. I was surprised at the number of people at Simpson. If you want a park to go somewhere and enjoy the sounds of silence, there's a section down by the kayak launch that it's hidden from the road. And I get down there and I've got the one picture of a couple, they took a barbecue down there with them. And it appeared they were going to be there for the day. I mean, they had a cookout, they had their chairs there, and they were just sitting back watching kayakers coming down the Yellow Breaches. And it was very quiet and peaceful, even though there's a bridge not maybe 200 yards away. You didn't get much road noise, and you could hear the stream, and that's where they launch kayaks, and the kayaks come out. And a number of people walking the paths there, which go back into the woods. And I think we have some bird boxes out in that park too. I think the Boy Scout did a project for that. Yeah. So again, I really highly recommend Simpson Park because I was surprised there had to be 12 to 15 cars there. And there were a couple trailers there. So I knew some people probably put in kayaks or canoes there and gone downstream. And then there were some people that were getting out when I was there too. Went from there down to McCormick and more fishermen at McCormick, a lot of fishermen at McCormick. And I saw grandpa teaching grandson how to fish, which was neat to just stand back and watch a little bit and watch some knowledge be passed down through the generations. I still think we need to pay some attention to parking down there. I think something needs to be done. We've talked about it in the past and we really haven't come up with a plan forward yet, as far as I'm aware of, but and it was not packed. There were 8 to 10 cars there when I was there. So I enjoyed that. Then I went to Generations, and at Generations, there were only 3 cars there, which I've been to Generations probably now 5 or 6 times, and that was as empty as I've seen it. But every time I've been there, I found interesting is there's always somebody walking a dog.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we need some dog bags there just to be safe. Because I didn't notice that. We have those at some of the other parks that if you forget to bring your plastic bag, you can get one of the dog bags here. And I gave a young woman directions. She had her dog and she wasn't sure how far she wanted to go. I said, well, you can take this little half-mile loop that goes back up here through a pasture. It's really nice and it's not as hilly, it's not as steep. And I think that's where she ended up going. Went from there to Mount Allen. And Mount Allen, I did notice the cones that somebody else had spoken about were there. And while I was there, 3 generations came over. Apparently, Grandpa lives at Messiah Village, and there was a son and daughter, or daughter, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, I'm not sure, and a couple grandkids, and they came over and they were playing in the park. And again, I saw kids on scooters, scootering in to the park, and then and some kids scootering out. So again, having a pocket park there was kind of nice. I went down to Spring Run and was embarrassed because I disturbed a young couple in the bushes. I thought, oh, young love and bloom, it's spring. So I didn't take any pictures there. I wanted to make sure no one recognized anybody, but that was the only 2 people down there. And then went from there up to Aspen's Park, and Aspen was dry, which and no one was there, but frequently I'll go by there and see people walking dogs or something. So I just really enjoyed the variety of the parks and the fact that most every park had somebody out there doing something and doing something a little different. And I agree. I'd like to keep Generations passive, which I think we're trying to do. But I don't see having an event, and I'm not talking Marshall Tucker Band at Hershey Park. I'm talking, maybe a folk group or something once a month, or a Food Truck Friday event out there occasionally as being disruptive. I'm undecided personally on the skate park, if it's a good location or not, but a bump track we don't have, and that is typically for younger kids. So the parents would be driving them anyways. And I think that would be something that unique for them to use. But that's my analysis from Memorial Day. And I just thought it was neat to see all the parks being used by so many different people for so many different purposes.
Thank you for sharing that. You have to come up here if you're going to talk. Because they're going to quote you.
So after everybody is gone, you are blessed to have a school district that has 25 acres of environmental center, and it seems to be forgotten by this group. And so we do have an environmental center, and it's well taken care of, and we have utilized the Bluebird Society, Samba, which is a pump track that's there. So that's why I came up, because I don't know what type of pump track is being discussed here. Ours is a very baby one. Maybe the next intermediate needs to be done. I don't know. But there is one there. And, we've had plenty of individuals come in there. We have bat boxes and owl boxes and all kinds of things environmentally. So don't forget, we do have those 25 acres. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. If you've never been, you should go back and walk through there. Any other public comment right now? I'd like to ask the board. Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is
sir.
Mr. Williams. Did I hear you to say we're going to discuss the budget under new business?
No, you did not.
Okay. That was going to be my comment.
The comment was that the budget is coming up, and that was from staff.
Okay.
This board is advisory, and we're going to discuss a little bit what we think should be the priorities for the next pieces at Generations Park. And everything that's in the plan is probably going to be up for discussion each and every year. I don't know. I may or may not be here, but each item and the priority is up for discussion with this board and with the public. So we've kind of heard the public a little bit today, but we kind of are going on what all of us heard at the grand opening. Does anybody, what do you all think should be our recommendation?
And kind of like what Chad was saying with the trails first, you know, provided the grant comes through, but even in spite of that, need the trails to get around the park. But I think the senior area, even I heard at my little amphitheater station, like everyone I spoke to that was of the age that would benefit from a senior area was very
What are you looking over here for?
trying to be safe. But no, I think we don't have anything like that in town or nearby that I'm aware of. Just the conceptual layout was, you know, very, very appealing to the people I talked to. I kind of explained
Okay.
where the little parking area right next to the amenities with a restroom close by, and, you know, it looked like a thought out plan. And I think honestly, that would probably be the next logical step for the park.
Other thoughts?
I would echo that. The trails, absolutely, number one. And I did have, that was the main thing that I heard. And of course, that a lot of the people that came to the opening said that, but also in a lot of the development that we've done in the last few years, I think we've worked a lot on developing pickleball courts and a lot of things for not just the younger generation, as we've done since the dawn of time with parks, but also for an older generation that is trying to be more active and do more things and stay alive longer by doing more activities. So I would love to develop that for them first, after the trails.
Anybody else? No? Okay.
I would just agree on the trails. I think that's the thing we should be trying to lock in first.
Yeah, I think we're doing what we can for that, but hopefully we'll get the grant. But after that, what number one priority that we should recommend would be look at the senior area?
I would agree with that as well.
Everybody agree with that? All right, so that is our suggestions, commissioners, and we have several here. Senior area would be the next piece. And it's up by Black Landscape, so it might disturb the deer herd that I know is up there a little bit, but they rove, so they'll be fine. Anything else?
Mr. Williams, my comment was going to be to the board or whatever. I've been a commissioner now for 17 months, and I've never seen a total cost or any estimates for the infrastructure. Like we know we all, I think, agree, complete the loop trail and so forth. But I would really like to know what the loop drive is going to cost. If there are any restrooms, I would like to know what sewer is going to cost. I don't think there's ever been enough discussion about like parking lots versus the pocket parking that Dirk and Edson, advised originally on their plan. I think that would save a lot of asphalt and still allow to create a lot of parking areas, just, using that pocket design. So I'm hoping in the next couple months, as like at the commissioner level, we go into the budget in the fall, I guess starting in November, that we can perhaps take a more detailed look at the cost of the infrastructure. So that'd be my suggestion.
Sure. Well, that's not really this board. That's more of a staff question, but when it comes to trails and, the infrastructure in terms of sewer and so forth, that's something that you can go to staff for and find out about. But in the interim, if we just get the trails in, ugly as they are, Porta-Johns with the contract we have are a possibility, because there's several miles where you can ride your bike or hike in there. I know my wife did it with a friend a couple days ago. But infrastructure, that's all a staff thing. I appreciate your comments, but we don't have that information either. Thank you. Anything else, folks? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I hit the wrong thing.
Baseball votes for a dome, Fisher Park.